Hey guys. Okay, it is chapter 18 of Phoenix Incandescent, and it's the girl who ran off her energy. Charlotte sat straight up. Her skin itched and burned and screamed in pain. The room spun. She panted and fell on her hands and knees. There were words trying to form in her head, but she couldn't place them together. Was somebody trying to talk to her? Was she trying to talk to somebody? She looked down at her hands. Sparks flew from her fingernails to the dirt and fizzled out. She blinked. Her heart beat against her ribs and her lungs grasped for air. Something was wrong. What was it? What was she supposed to do? She closed her eyes. She wanted to run. She stood on her unsteady legs, stumbled to the barn door, and pushed it open. The moon hung in the sky, but on the horizon was the tiniest beginning of a new sunrise. She took off into the fields surrounding the barn. She leaped over fences, and when the trees came, she zigzagged between them. She stumbled many times through the cold darkness, but each time she rose and began again. She ran toward the brightness in the sky that peaked above the horizon and slowly stretched out into the morning sky, pushing the darkness up and away. She found an old road. Her legs steadied. Her heart and lungs did too. The pain and confusion eased as the minutes ticked by and the heat rose off her skin. The sun rose higher. Rain fell in a cold drizzle from the cloud-covered sky. Charlotte stopped and stood under a tree, drenched and shivering. The heat was gone now, but where was she? She closed her eyes and leaned against a tree trunk. Abby was too little to leave. Half of the team was unconscious, and nobody had any idea where she was. There was only one thing she could do. She turned around and headed back in the direction she had come from. She could follow the road back, but at what point should she leave it? A couple of hours passed. Trees blurred into more trees. Fields blurred into more fields. Charlotte walked in the forest away from the road, even though only the occasional car passed by. She was hungry and thirsty and tired. She was a mess of dirt and leaves and twigs and sweat. She brushed off what she could as she walked and scowled at herself. A familiar sound stopped her in her tracks. Charlotte ran to Beau and collided with his chest. His arms tightened around her and he placed a kiss on top of her head. "How in the world did you find me?" she cried with relief. He put his hands on her shoulders and stepped her out of his embrace. His eyes were fierce and his mouth was firm. "Explain yourself." Charlotte shrugged his hands off. Beau raised an eyebrow and took a step back. "Well, then I'll share first. I woke up after passing out sometime in the middle of fighting those damn biters, and everybody wants me to find you. They say you stood up and walked right out of the barn." "How did you find me?" she asked again. "I wasn't even paying attention to where I was going." "You left an obvious trail." He drummed his fingers against his pants. "Lodestar said something about this being something you needed to do, or time alone, or something else stupid." He shook his head at her. "I still think she knows something about you the rest of us don't know. Anyway, Vaughn has offered to get you, and I'll have you know, but I wouldn't let him. I would be a complete idiot to send somebody else after my girl, even though I was trying to recover." He paused and shrugged. "So that's how I spent my morning, exhausted and hurt, flying around looking for you." Beau took a couple of steps closer. "So what happened? Did you wake up and decide to take a run for fun?" He leaned against a tree. "I'm so tired. Mind if I relax here? Tell me, have you thought about me this morning? Did you wonder if I had woken or if I was still alive?" Charlotte closed the gap between them. She didn't stop the flow of tears. "You haven't asked me if I'm okay. You didn't give me time to process that I was safe back with you. You didn't give me time to explain. Oh no, you wrapped your true feelings up in a wad of unrelenting, careless teasing and shoved them down my throat." She turned and stomped off. "You left me when I was down," he yelled at her. Charlotte stopped walking. There it was. She frowned. She did feel bad, but he didn't understand how she had felt at the moment. He didn't know about the pain she was in, or that the pain started to go away the more she ran. "I'm sorry," she yelled back at him. "I didn't have a choice, Beau. I don't get many choices these days." Beau's wings opened and ruffled. "Tell me what's going on in your head, Lottie. I'm having a hard time listening in from out here." Charlotte turned to him and put her hands on her hips. "I had to do it, Beau. I know you'd understand, but I had to." "I know you don't understand." "Then help me understand." Charlotte threw her hands up in the air. "What if I don't fully understand what happened? What if it were like my body just knew what it needed to do to feel better?" Beau turned and walked away a few steps. His wings were half opened and the tips of his bottom feathers dragged through the dirt as he walked. He half turned to her, then shook his head and turned back away. Charlotte planted her feet in the ground. Wingard, get over here. She tried her best to steady the tremors that surged through her legs. Bo returned. His wings were folded back behind him now. He reached for her, but she waved his hand away. If he touched her now, she would lose her courage. I was hurting. I woke up in terrible pain. Every inch of me felt like it was on fire. Something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was or what to do about it. She coughed down a sob. Bo, there's nobody I can go to. Nobody I can ask. I'm not doing this on purpose. Bo pulled her to him. Locklear. Shut up. She sobbed into his chest. I was so worried about you. All I could think about was how much I wanted to get back to you and how stupid I was for getting lost and how hopeless my situation was. Bo wrapped his wings around her. Hush now. Charlotte nestled her head into his neck. We should get back. First, I'm going to hold you. Charlotte listened to the sound of their hearts beating. She turned in Bo's arms and stroked his feathers. Do you feel that? Yes, in a way. Different areas of feathers have different levels of sensation. Would you have liked it better if I had grown wings during the transformation? What? Bo laughed. No. He patted her back and tried to straighten his smile out in response to her scolding gaze. Remember that I did love you before all the changes. Wings and magic didn't matter to me. Charlotte crossed her arms in front of her chest. I know you did, Bo, but it might have made things easier for us. He kissed her softly. That's a matter of opinion, my dear. They are fun, but they also get in the way a lot. Everything you are used to doing would have to change. That's not so different than what I have to deal with now. You're right. He stroked her back. Would you have wanted them? Maybe I did for a moment. She dropped her arms and placed them on his hips. Bo, what's wrong with me? What if there are too many conflicting traits in me for anything to come out well? Sometimes I don't understand all this pain I've gone through. Surely it must mean something. Her voice cracked in. Surely there is something of worth in me. Bo replied with a kiss before words. There was already something of worth inside you before the transformation. There were many things of worth in you. He kissed her forehead, her nose, her ears, and her mouth. Appearances can change throughout life, as well as abilities. What remains is what is in your heart. That's the most important part of life. That's the part I love about you the most. I love you, too. I know you do. He pulled her close and kissed her hard, then pulled away slowly. Your eyes are a little more golden every day. Charlotte looked into his eyes. Yours are halfway there. She ran her hands through his hair. Your hair is changing quickly, too. Someday it will be all white. He tugged one of the groups of strands of her hair that had turned white and picked out a leaf. Ugh, I'm filthy and stinky, Charlotte complained. Bo, be a good future husband and find me a bath, won't you? Bo stepped back and laughed. Charlotte, be a good future wife and go for a cold swim. Charlotte rolled her eyes. I'm not the only one who needs a cold swim. Daisy. Reginald. Sorry, guys. I keep getting distracted because for some reason, lots of notifications are coming through on this one. I guess I need to learn to turn them off or something. And I didn't do a good time of ignoring them this time. Anyway, I'll be back for chapter 19.